fables teach you a lesson, I was trying to decide which one will I tell you. And really, my favorite is one that has a mouse in it. Does anybody know which one I'm thinking of?
Lion and the Mouse?
The Lion and the Mouse. Maybe you can help me tell this. And he came out the other side. He looked around. He thought he was in a safe place, but then the ground started to rise up underneath him. He looked down. It wasn't the ground. It was a lion. He was standing on the lion. And what did the lion do? Who knows?
Try to eat him.
He was going to eat him. He grabbed him by the tail, and he was about to put him in his mouth, and the mouse said, "Wait, wait." What did he say?
Wait.
"Don't eat me, don't eat me," he said. "I've got a family. If you let me go, I'll go home to my family and I'll be able to feed them. And someday, I'll help you." Ha! You help me? You gotta be kidding. I'm a lion. I'm the king of the jungle. How's a little mouse like you gonna help me? You'll see. I'll do it. I'll do it. "All right," said the lion. "Okay, I'll let you go free." So he let that mouse free, and he ran on home to his children, and he brought them food, and he continued his life. But a few days later, some men came along through the jungle. Who knows who those men were, what they were doing?
They trapped the lion.
They trapped the lion. They had a big cord trap, and when the lion stepped on part of it, it fell down on top of the lion, and there he was trapped. And the lion roared, "Rah!" Well, another thing that's great about books is you get to hear stories from different points of view, the way different people see it. And I like this song. It's called "The Fox Went Out on a Chilly Night." It's an old song. It comes from over in England, and it's come over to this country. And there's even a picture book that uses the words. And it's about a fox going out to hunt. Now, if you ask a farmer, he doesn't much care for foxes because they're stealing his chickens. But if you ask the fox, he'd say, "I got a family to feed." So this is told from his point of view. Well, the fox went out on a chilly night. He prayed to the moon to give him light. He had many a mile to go that night before he reached the town. Oh, town, oh, town, oh. Many a mile to go that night before he reached the town. Oh. Now, when I sing that little repeat, it's different each time, but it repeats the last part after the O. You're certainly welcome to join in with me. Well, the wren did come to a cozy den. The ducks and the geese were kept therein. It says, "A couple of you gonna grease my chin before I leave this town, oh, town, oh, town, oh. A couple of you gonna grease my chimney before I leave this town, oh." He grabbed that gray goose by the neck and threw that duck across his back. He didn't mind, made quack, 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 and the legs all dangling down, oh, down, oh, down, oh. He didn't mind, let it quack, 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 and the legs all dangling down, oh. Now old Mother Flip-Flop jumped out of bed, and after that window she popped her head. She cried, "John, John!" The gray goose is gone, and the fox is on the town, oh, town, oh, town, oh. John, John! The gray goose is gone, and the fox is on the town, oh. The myths that are best known are the Greek myths, but many other people have had myths, and I'd like to tell you one that comes from the Tlingit tribe, who are Native Americans up along the west coast of Alaska. They're the people who built beautiful, lived in the darkness, the animals lived in the darkness, and Raven felt sorry for the people. He said, "I will bring them light." And so Raven, he flew over the mountains, and he flew to where that light was, and he perched up on a tree.
and he looked down, and he could see that the light was coming from a log house. It was the house of the Sky Chief. And as he watched, a beautiful girl, maybe a teenager, something like that, came out of the log house and went down to the water. And she dipped up some water in a bowl, and she drank it. And as Raven watched her, he had an idea of how he could get light. Raven changed himself into a pine needle, and the pine needle fluttered down and landed in that bowl of water. Well, the next drink that she took of that water, down went Raven into the girl. 9 months passed, and the girl had a baby. And the baby had sharp black eyes, a big nose. He looked a little bit like Raven. It was Raven Child, reborn as a human child. Oh, the girl loved him, and her father, the Sky Chief, loved him. He would always come over and play with Raven. He would make him toys, and the elders would come over and watch him too. And one day, Raven was playing out there on the floor, and he saw a big box in the corner, and it seemed like light was coming out of the box. And he looked at the box, and he pointed, he went, "Gong, gong, gong, gong." And the girl said, "What does he want?" Her father said, "He wants the box. Bring it to him." And I learned it from a woman named Olga Loya, who was a storyteller and who's collected many stories from people who actually tell these old folk tales in Mexico. One time there was an old woman named Miseria. She lived way out in the country. Now her life was pretty good. She had herself a nice garden in a huerta. She had some chickens, unos pollos, but her favorite thing was her pear tree. Oh, she loved to reach up into that pear tree, take down a nice ripe pear, and bite into it and just feel the juice flowing down her. She would say, "Ay, qué ricos, qué deliciosos son mis pears. How delicious are my pears." There's only one thing that was not so good with her life, and that was that there were some muchachos who lived nearby. And they would come over into her land, and they would go running through her garden and trample the vegetables. They'd scare off the chickens. And then they'd climb up her pear tree, and they'd grab a pear, and they'd take one bite, and they'd throw it down on the ground to rot. And they'd grab another, take a bite, throw it down. Grab another, take a bite, throw it down. Until finally, Tia Miseria would go out, and she'd say, "Bajen, bajen de mi árbol, ahorita mismo. Come on down out of my tree right now." But they'd say, "No, no estamos listos. We're not ready." Oh, Tia Miseria would get mad. If they really wanted to get her mad, they did something like this. You can do this with me now, but don't do it outside either. Okay, they went, "Tia, Tia, Tia Miseria." Well, one evening, there was a knock on Tia Miseria's door, and she opened the door, and there was a young man. And the young man said, "Por favor, Tia Miseria, I've been traveling for 3 days, and I need a place to stay. Could I stay the night with you? Yo puedo quedarme la noche con usted?" "Sí, como no," she said, "why not?" She invited him in. She fixed him a nice plate of arroz and frijoles, rice and beans. She put in some verduras, some vegetables, unos huevos, some eggs. And he ate a nice big plate and he was full. And then she spread out some straw in front of him, in front of the fire. And he lay down and went to sleep. And he slept well. When he got up in the morning, he said, "Tia Miseria, you've been very kind to me. I want to return the favor. Yo quiero hacerte un favor." He said, "I'm a magician. Yo soy un mago. And if you have a wish, I can make it come true."
She said, yo sé que quiero, I know what I want. I want that the next time someone climbs up my pear tree, they can't come down until I say the magic words. Yo quiero que la próxima vez que alguien suba a mi árbol de peras, no puede bajar hasta que yo diga las palabras mágicas. He said, well, that's a strange wish, but that's how it will be. So he went on his way, and a few days later, who came to visit Tia Miseria? The boys, right? They came running through the garden, trampling the vegetables and chasing off the chickens. And they climbed up in the tree and they started grabbing pears and taking a bite and throwing them down on the ground. But Tia Miseria didn't get upset the way she usually did. She was just standing on her porch watching them. After a while, it started to get dark, and they thought, this isn't any fun. We'd like to torture Tia Miseria. And Tia Miseria was just as calm as could be. So they started to climb down out of the tree. But they couldn't move. El encanto estaba en fuerza. And they sat up there, it got darker and darker, and the boys started to panic. They started to cry. They said, Tia Miseria, por favor. Por favor, déjanos bajar. Déjanos bajar, Tia Miseria. Bajen, bajen, bajen de mi árbol. And they came down out of that tree, and they ran off. And they never did come back either. Well, now, a few days later, there was another knock on Tia Miseria's door, and she thought, ah, es mi amigo, it's my friend again. But when she opened the door, it was someone else. He was tall and skinny, looked like a skeleton. She looked into his eyes and she felt like she was falling into a deep pit. He said, Yo soy la muerte y vengo por usted. I am death and I have come for you. Tia Miseria is a fast thinker. She said, oh, yo sabía que tú ibas a venir. I knew you were coming, she said. But I'm very hungry. I'm really hungry. Yo tengo que comer antes de irme. I have to eat something before I go. Yo quiero unas peras de mi árbol. Son deliciosas. Well, she left him up there for a week. She left him there for a month. She left him there for a year. You know, the man who worked in the cemetery digging the graves, he came and he talked to Tia Miseria. He said, Tia Miseria, nobody's dying. I don't have any word. She said, I'll find another job. Finally, Tia Miseria had an old friend. She was older than Tia Miseria, and she was sick, and she was bent over, and she ached everywhere. So Tia Miseria went up to the tree, and she said to Death, if I let you come down, do you promise never, ever to come back again? Sí, lo prometo, he said. Yeah, I promise. Baje, baje, baje de mi árbol. Death came down out of that tree, picked up Tia Miseria's friend, and went running out of that place. And you know what? He kept his promise. Death never came back for Tia Miseria. And they say to this day, that is why there is misery on this earth. That's why there's misery, because her name means Aunt Misery. But of course, that's not why there's misery on this earth. There's misery on this earth for lots of reasons, but one of it is that people sometimes treat each other like those boys treated Tia Miseria. And Latin America is one of those people, like many other, like African Americans too, who have felt the brunt of mistreatment. This is a famous painting of the Spanish conquistadors who came 500 years ago and conquered the Indians. And after they came,
80% of the population of Native Americans in the Americas died. Only 20% was left. Many of them died from disease. So the people of Latin America have suffered a lot, but they've continued to suffer because in most of their countries, in many of their countries, the descendants of those Spanish conquistadors are still in power, and they do not rule very. This is a church near Coban in Guatemala where various people, various Indians have sought sanctuary. That's a safe place they can come, that the army is not allowed to go in and take them away and kill them. And these are refugees in a Guatemalan camp. And you'll notice that many of these have some of these costumes that you saw on the table. These are indigenous Guatemalans. Do any of you who speak Spanish also speak a native dialect? Speak another language, a dialect? In certain parts of Mexico, and especially in Guatemala, a lot of the people, their native language is not Spanish. It's the old Indian dialect. Well, this is a chapter book. It's called Colibri. Colibri is hummingbird. In this girl's native language, it's Sunun. Sunun has been traveling since she was 4 years old. She's now 12. She's been traveling with a man who she calls uncle. She doesn't know if he's really her uncle. She doesn't think so. Uncle says that he rescued her and he found her, but she doesn't know if that's really the truth. She travels from town to town. They don't have any place to live in. As they go into a town, Uncle pretends he's blind, and they sit down in front of the church, and she begs for alms. She really doesn't like that. But he keeps her with him because years ago, he spoke to a fortune teller who said that she would someday bring him wealth. Then, Uncle comes up with a new scheme, which is worse than his usual scheme. An old friend of his, who just happens to be from the army, and he want to go into a church in San Sebastian and steal a very beautiful statue from inside the church. For those of you who go to church can imagine that that's not only stealing, but it's a sacrilege. And he tells her that her job is to go into the church in the day and hide away, and then at night to open the door so they can come in and steal the statue. And this time she feels really bad. She's wondering, this is not a good thing. She thinks that she hears the spirit of the statue speaking to her. And so she has to decide what she's going to do. Well, if you read the book, you'll see what she does. This book is very much about making tough decisions. Here are some other books that you may have heard about. Esperanza Rising. That's him leading a very famous march where he started out on a 400-mile march with 14 people to the capital of Sacramento to demand the right to bargain as a union. And when he got to the capital, they had grown to 10,000 different people. And the company signed a contract.
If we could consider each other a neighbor, a sister, or brother, it could be a wonderful, wonderful world. It could be a wonderful world. Oh yes, it could be a wonderful world.
If each little kid could have fresh milk each day, if all working folks had enough time to play, if each homeless town had a good place to stay, it could be a wonderful world. Oh yes, it could be a wonderful world.
If we could consider each other a neighbor, a sister, or brother, it could be a wonderful, wonderful